Why leave home and country to go to a foreign place? What is the purpose of serving in Guatemala? Because love compels us. For the next few minutes, you will see what life is like for many children, women, and families in a place called Guatemala. For many in the world, it is an unknown place. Where? Never heard of it. But it has real people with real problems who need real hope. This video is not meant to be a feel sad and sorry for the people of this nation. They do not need our pity. They are very strong and a very industrious people. Called the land of eternal spring, there are many wonders here. The people, the mountains, the rivers, the jungles, the green, and more green. This nation is very beautiful and majestic. But there is also pain, despair, abuse, corruption, and evil. These cannot stay under the rug. I pray that you would see not just the wickedness in this nation that is hidden, but also the hope that lies under the ground, and allow love to compel you.
Guatemala struggles to resolve the memory of its past civil conflict while facing challenges like widespread poverty, child malnutrition, and violence. Weak institutions and insufficient government investment in education, health, and social programs make it difficult for children, young people, and families to get the support they need. Guatemala is home to about 16 million people, making it the most populous country in Central America. It also has the highest birth rate in Latin America and the youngest population. Nearly half of Guatemalans are under the age of 19. This youth, combined with a high birth rate, means that its population will most likely continue to grow. During the second half of the 20th century, Guatemala was governed by a series of military and civilian governments and experienced a 36-year civil war. During the conflict, more than 200,000 people were killed, and according to some estimates, nearly 1 million fled as refugees. A peace accord was signed in 1996, but bringing individuals responsible for crimes during the war to justice has been a slow process. In 2015, the people of Guatemala called for changes in the government due to the high levels of corruption. Corruption had been present up to the highest levels of the ruling administration. In spite of recent efforts, its effects continue to be felt in Guatemala's weak institutions, powerful organized crime networks, and pervasive violence. Guatemala has one of the largest economies in Central America, but only a small amount of money is spent on public services. It is one of the most violent countries in Central America, and in addition to creating an environment of fear and insecurity, the high rate of violence and crime generates huge economic costs. Insufficient resources are spent on strengthening institutions like the court system and offering support to vulnerable groups like women and children affected by poverty and violence. Inequality remains a major problem. Nearly 60% of the population, or about 9 million people, live below the poverty line, while about 23%, or roughly 3.7 million people, live in extreme poverty, meaning they live on less than $2 a day. Indigenous communities, which make up 44% of the national population, are disproportionately affected. Almost 80% of indigenous people in Guatemala live in poverty, and many rural areas lack access to water and proper sanitation facilities. Guatemala's booming population is quite young, with more than 7 million children under the age of 18. There is a high prevalence of violence against children. In addition to physical and sexual abuse, trafficking is also a danger. Almost 50% of Guatemalan children suffer from chronic malnutrition, one of the highest malnutrition rates in the world, and 47 out of 100 children are below the average height for their age. Over 12% of children are underweight. Children living in rural areas and children from indigenous communities have a stronger likelihood of experiencing malnutrition. In 2015, nearly 200,000 children and young people dropped out of school with malnutrition cited as a common reason. When children don't get enough to eat, they are in poor health, tired, and find it difficult to concentrate in school. Additionally, Guatemala has one of the highest rates of child labor in the Americas. Nearly 26% of children between the ages of 5 to 17 are engaged in work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful.